Hello everybody, I am Fuzzyface. Welcome back to another edition of this Motorsport Manager career. Today we are back with something a little bit different. We're not really going to be going over any gameplay today. What we're going to be doing is going over the driver market for the new season, the new teams that are entering Formula 1 and a host of new teams that are entering Formula 2 today. So it is just a basic going over of what will be the 2021 season here on Motorsport Manager. So without any further ado, we're going to get straight into things. We start our run through of the grid for the 2021 season with last year's champions Williams, or as they are now known, the Williams Honda Racing Team. Williams are the only team to remain with the exact same driver lineup as last season. That can be seen as nothing other than a positive, as Esteban Ocon and Lando Norris both finished 2nd and 4th respectively in the Drivers' Championship, helping Williams to earn unexpected but well-deserved Constructors' Championship, their first since 1997. Esteban Ocon, who is on loan with the Williams outfit for the 3rd year from Mercedes, is possibly on his final year with the team. Esteban Ocon first signed with Williams for the 2019 season, and after a number of impressive performances, Williams extended that contract through 2021. With his impressive performances for Williams, Mercedes will be wanting to bring him back into the fold if rumours are to be believed that Lewis Hamilton is thinking of retirement, especially now that Williams have moved away from Mercedes entirely, having partnered officially with Honda. Williams, who last year some said had a better understanding of the Mercedes power unit than the actual works team, will be hoping to bring that expertise to the partnership with Honda and have an engine that is their own to develop to keep the fight going against Mercedes, Ferrari, Red Bull and other looming threats across the F1 paddock in the coming years. Meanwhile, Lando Norris has signed with the Williams team officially, having been another driver also on loan with the team, this time from McLaren. Norris sees his long-term future with the Williams team and will be hoping that Williams can continue to build and help him win a world title. We move on to last year's runner-ups, Ferrari, with the prancing horses looking to deliver a championship for the first time since 2004. This year they will have to try to do it without Sebastian Vettel, who won the Drivers' Championship for them in 2018 and 2020. Replacing him at the Maranello outfit is former Red Bull driver Daniel Ricciardo, who is looking to bounce back after a disappointing season last season after Red Bull got off to a very slow start, with Ricciardo netting 0 wins and just 2 podiums over the course of the entire season. Ricciardo, who seemed fed up with the Red Bull struggles early last year, said he had made his mind up about moving away from the team early on last season, and that the team's resurgence over the last couple of races were not enough to change his mind. Ricciardo will be hoping that moving to Ferrari will give him a chance of winning the Drivers' Championship, a feat that has so far eluded him in his career. He will be partnered by Charles Leclerc, who moved to the Ferrari outfit midway through last season, scoring 3 podiums and a 5th place finish overall, scoring almost 20 more points than Ricciardo despite spending the first half of the 2020 season with Sauber. The Monegasque driver will look to build upon an impressive run with the Ferrari outfit in 2021 and will no doubt be looking to fight his teammate for a potential run at the title. Mercedes' run of consecutive Constructors' Championships came to an end last year after winning the title 6 years in a row. Mercedes struggled last year for reliability early on in the season and had some rotten luck, with Lewis looking odds on at one point for the driver's title before falling away late on in the season and eventually finishing in 3rd behind Vettel and Ocon. 2020 was a disappointment for Lewis, having won the title the year before. Meanwhile, Kevin Magnussen disappointed for the Silver Arrows and found himself out of the team after only 1 year with the Brackley-based outfit. He will be replaced by Nico Hülkenberg, who makes a move from Renault. Hülkenberg will be looking to take the bull by both horns as he gets the chance for the first time in a car that could deliver a world championship. Mercedes will be hoping 2021 is a better one for them, having finished a massive 137 points behind a Williams team who were using their own engine. With Force India leaving Formula 1 and Williams partnering with Honda, Mercedes will supply engines to 2 new teams in Formula 1 this season. Speaking of engines, Red Bull made the move away from Honda this season, with Aston Martin bringing their own brand of engines to the grid in 2021, with Red Bull being the only team to be using the Aston Martin engines, which looked mightily strong in pre-season testing and in terms of raw power outperformed the efforts of every other team. Red Bull will be hoping for a much stronger season than previous, where they struggled early on before improving somewhat towards the end of the season. After shockingly losing Max Verstappen the season before last to Force India, Red Bull have now lost Daniel Ricciardo to title rivals Ferrari. Despite this though, the Red Bull driver lineup is still looking strong as Fernando Alonso finally makes his return to the grid after a couple of years away from Formula 1. He spent a year in the WEC, narrowly missing out on the title with Toyota, and then a year in Indycar where he did well in tabling a mid-table finish with a below par Harding Racing. This year though, Fernando could very well be fighting for the title in what looks like a very strong Red Bull package for 2021. He would be partnered by Carlos Sainz, who has named Alonso as his idol in the past. Sainz, who thought he would never get a chance in the Red Bull after a period in the Toro Rosso, then 2 years on loan at Renault, and then another 2 years on loan at Haas. Pierre Gasly had been seen by many as a natural successor at Red Bull, but will have to wait at least another year as Red Bull thought that with the arrival of Alonso, that Sainz was the best fit to work with his fellow Spaniard in an attempt to get the car and the team back on track in 2021. Moving on, we come to the first new team on the grid for 2021, with Porsche making their long-awaited return to Formula 1. It had long been rumoured that Porsche were working on an engine supply deal for Formula 1, but with Force India facing bankruptcy and leaving the grid, Porsche decided to go all in and join the grid for the 2021 season, and have made a huge statement with the signing of Sebastian Vettel from Ferrari, shaking up the grid and being seen as what has driven this year's crazy driver market, with no team other than Williams retaining the same 2 drivers for this season. Porsche look to have a strong package, but might have to wait to challenge fully at the top of the grid whilst they find their feet in Formula 1 once again, but a 5-way title race could very well be on the cards for this season. Partnering Vettel for Porsche is Max Verstappen, with Porsche arguably having the strongest lineup on the grid for this season, having picked up the contract when they took over the rights from Force India. Whether Vettel and Verstappen can coexist is another question entirely, as both will want to be ahead of the other. Verstappen only has 1 year remaining on his deal, and his stay with Porsche may only last the 1 year. McLaren have been steadily improving over the last few years and seem to have gotten over their period of terrible cars, with finishes of 4th, 5th and 5th over the last 3 years. With Williams leaving their Mercedes engine deal behind, this has opened the door for McLaren to step back into the Mercedes fold, taking on the Mercedes power units for the 2021 season. This should provide a much needed power boost for McLaren, predicted to finish this season in 6th as they aim to get closer to the top teams. Valtteri Bottas remains with the McLaren team this season after a decent first season with the team. This should prove valuable as Bottas has a good understanding of the Mercedes engines, having driven with a Mercedes engine with Williams and the Works team itself previously. He will be joined by George Russell, who arrives possibly, but not confirmed, as part of the engine deal, as Mercedes was looking for a route for Russell into Formula 1 for some experience before potentially moving to the Works team itself in the near future. We now move on to Renault, who have taken on 2 Red Bull associated drivers. Pascal Wehrlein joins the team after a decent season with Red Bull last year, but was deemed surplus to requirements as they look for someone to be more compatible with Fernando Alonso. Whilst Wehrlein is no longer officially associated with the Red Bull team, Renault have taken a Red Bull driver on loan in the form of Pierre Gasly, after the Renault team also previously loaned Carlos Sainz. Renault have made some big steps forward with their engine for 2021, with the simplified engines making their debut this season as part of Liberty Media's plans at making the grid more competitive, and a seemingly stronger driver lineup puts them in a good position. But with Porsche entering the fray, they might not find themselves making actual gains in terms of positioning on the grid. Haas have struck out on their own for the 2021 season. For the last few years they have used Ferrari engines and non-listed Ferrari parts, but that deal has come to an end as Ferrari looked to use Sauber as a more direct feeder team along with Prema. This left Haas looking for an engine, and they found one in the form of the returning Cosworth outfit, and will be the only team supplied by them in Formula 1 this season. Cosworth are one of the most successful engine suppliers in Formula 1 history, notching up 176 wins, second only to Ferrari, but the Cosworth engine looks to be somewhat underpowered after pre-season testing, but Haas will be hoping Cosworth can quickly find their feet and bring much needed upgrades as the season progresses. Haas will also be hoping to circumvent relegation under the new Formula 1 rules to the new expanded Formula 2 experience, as Liberty Media have branded it. One of their aims of doing this is by giving Joseph Newgarden a route to Formula 1, with the 2-time Verizon Indycar winner looking to take his chance and earn a shot in a better car if Haas falter. Newgarden comes with some serious hype as most people rate him as a driver with the most talent in the world at the moment. Haas also look for continuity as they retain Romain Grosjean for the 2021 season for what will be his 6th season with the Haas team. Alfa Romeo Sauber continue their partnership with Ferrari and will follow the Haas model this year. They will once again be taking the Ferrari power units and will also use non-listed Ferrari parts, giving them a better car than they have had previously. Alex Lynn, who joined Sauber when Charles Leclerc moved to the main team, remains with the team for this season, having notched up a number of impressive performances, something he failed to do whilst at Ferrari. Also from the Ferrari stable, Antonio Giovinazzi joins the team for this season, hoping to make his own claim to get a seat with Ferrari. Hopefully one day partnering Charles Leclerc, who Ferrari are looking to long term to carry the team. Whether all this moves the Sauber team up the grid remains to be seen, as the top 7 teams look pretty much to be out of reach. Also joining the grid for the 2021 season is ART Grand Prix, with Liberty Media's new expanded Formula 2 experience coming into full effect a little early, as ART earned a shot in Formula 1 at the expense of the Toro Rosso team. Liberty Media are looking at injecting some excitement to the back of the grid within Formula 1, with relegations and promotions between Formula 1 and Formula 2 coming into effect, new teams in Formula 2 and a whole new prize money structure to attract bigger teams to Formula 2 with the chance of getting into Formula 1. ART look to have invested some serious money, having managed to raise money from a number of investors. Lawrence Stroll is said to be one of the investors, but Lance Stroll doesn't find himself in a seat for 2021. His father must not consider him good enough to stop ART from being relegated at this stage in his career, as ART have spent some serious money in bringing Stoffel Van Dorn and Sergio Perez into the fold, as well as using the Mercedes power units for 2021, which should give them some serious power in battling Sauber and Haas this season. Most people had been expecting last year's Formula 2 champion Nicholas Latifi to remain with the team, but he was poached by a newcomer to Formula 2. That newcomer being the returning BMW Motorsports team, who not only managed to get last year's F2 champion Latifi, but have also spent big in bringing Kevin Magnussen to the team after he found himself cast out of Mercedes. BMW had been interested in taking the spot of Force India that eventually went to Porsche, but felt they were not ready for a full-blown entry into Formula 1 at this time. Instead, they have joined the Liberty branded F2 experience as they look to find their feet and bring a stronger contender when they do eventually move up to Formula 1. The F2 experience provides a real chance to do that with the new revenue model, cars that are more in line with their Formula 1 counterparts, and actual supplied engines from Formula 1 teams. BMW are said to be working on their own engines at the moment but are not quite ready. Therefore, they will use the Aston Martin engines this season, which are looking extremely powerful at the moment. Making the drop from Formula 1, a move pretty much welcomed by Red Bull, as Toro Rosso have finished 10th in each of the last 3 seasons. They will also be using the Aston Martin engines like BMW, but Toro Rosso are not especially keen on rising back to Formula 1 too quickly, as they look to use Toro Rosso to build some younger drivers much like they have done in the past. Dan Ticktum, a long-time member of the Red Bull Young Driver Programme, gets a shot in the Toro Rosso after acting as a reserve for the Red Bull team over the last 3 years. Pietro Fittipaldi also joined the Red Bull team and will get the 2nd seat. Another new team of sorts is Infinity Dams. Dams have been associated with Formula 2 for some time, but Infinity officially joined the fray as a full-time partner, continuing Dams' association with Renault from Formula E. Dams is seen now as a Renault feeder team, and this explains why Felix Rosenqvist has made the move from Renault straight to Infinity. He will be joined by Robert Kubica, who is desperate to find a way back into Formula 1 after a one-season spell on the grid with Williams in 2018 when he took over from Lance Stroll. With the association with Renault, it is only natural that Infinity Dams take on the Renault engines for 2021. Also entering the fray is Volvo Polestar, with Volvo dual branding with their performance line of cars for a 2021 effort. The Volvo has looked extremely strong in testing, but is slightly let down by the power of the Cosworth engines, with Cosworth only committing to a return to Formula 1 at the last moment. Volvo, like Haas, will be hoping that Cosworth can find their feet quickly and bring much needed upgrades. If that happens, Volvo could find themselves challenging for the top, as they have quite a strong driver lineup. Nick De Vries, still looking for a seat in Formula 1, joins Volvo in the hopes that they can do just that. De Vries had looked odds on to get the McLaren seat before McLaren made the deal with Mercedes that eventually saw that seat go to George Russell. De Vries has now officially left the McLaren fold. Marcus Ericsson also joins the team with the Chinese-owned car company in the form of Geely Auto, looking for a bit of Swedish branding to launch their entry into Formula 2. Volvo, much like BMW, are said to be working on introducing their own power units, but are still some way off doing so, and will only do so when they have a unit capable of challenging. Another constructor making a return to the sport is Jaguar. With engines supplied by Mercedes, the British-based outfit find themselves as the only team in Formula 2 with a Mercedes engine, which they are hoping will give them somewhat of an edge. On the driver side of things, Brendan Hartley and Callum Ilott joined the team after being teammates last season at the junior ART racing team. Jaguar see real potential in Ilott and hope he will be a leading force in helping them rise to Formula 1. Meanwhile, Hartley, who has had experience now with Toro Rosso and 2 years with ART in Formula 2, is seen as a steady hand as Jaguar look to build for an eventual push for a place in Formula 1. The final new team in Formula 2 is an American outfit who joined Haas in Liberty Media's attempt at cracking the US market, along with the 2 races that are currently held in the US. Andretti Autosport have finally made the move over from Indycar. Andretti have announced an engine deal with Honda after failing to get Ferrari to agree to a deal, with Ferrari seemingly reluctant to let a team in Formula 2 use their engines other than Prema, who are still acting as a junior team of sorts for Ferrari. Andretti had also made a move for a Porsche engine deal, but Porsche are more focused on getting the engines right for themselves before offering up the engine to customer teams. Therefore, Andretti are hoping that the new Williams-Honda partnership will work out for them, as Williams have proved themselves over the last 3 seasons to be able to get the most out of the engines they have been given, with Williams at one point seemingly getting more out of the Mercedes engine than the actual works team themselves. As for the rest of the paddock, there are 4 teams that are holdovers from the old Formula 2 structure, all of whom have gone with the cheaper but underpowered Cosworth power units, as the new prize money payment structure will not come into effect until the end of the season. The first of those teams is the Arden Racing team, who have brought in Kyle Kaiser, a former Indy Lights champion looking for a route into Formula 1, and Sean Galeon, who was impressive for Prema last season. The next of those 4 teams is Russian Time, who have retained Narai Fukuzumi but have also brought in Antonio Fuoco. Demotion to GP3 also becomes a reality this season, and Russian Time will hope that Fukuzumi and Fuoco can continue their pretty decent form from last season and keep them out of trouble. Carlin will be hoping for stability and continuity from their drivers in 2021, as they have retained both Matsushita and Sergei Sete-Camera. Carlin, though, will find themselves stretched thin with the new expanded F2 to go along with IndyCar, Formula E and a whole host of other racing disciplines. There have been rumours of Carlin entering an official partnership with another team or a partnership with a well-known car manufacturer, as Carlin hope and dream of a rise to Formula 1. Last up we come to Prema, who have taken on 2 young junior Ferrari drivers in Giuliano Alesi and Enzo Fittipaldi. Prema, unlike Arden, Russian Time and Carlin, who have gone with the Cosworth engines, have taken on the Ferrari power units for 2021 and will be hoping that this gives them an edge over the teams that they will most likely be fighting with as they look to avoid demotion to the GP3 series. And that concludes our look at the 2021 season, the driver market and the cars. I hope everyone enjoyed the new look to what we go over in pre-season. This is possibly going to be what is going to be coming up in every pre-season leading forward. I'm happy with how we've gone with the driver lineups. I'm happy with the storylines we've got going at the moment. Should be a really interesting season this season with Porsche entering Formula 1. They have a pretty decent car which is there to compete. Red Bull have a much improved car. Mercedes and Ferrari are pretty much side by side. Our Williams car is somewhere in the middle, so hopefully we're still able to compete in and about with the top 4 teams of, as we said, Mercedes, Ferrari, Red Bull and Porsche. Hopefully we're going to be somewhere close to them, if not beating some of them at some points this season. I don't think we're going to be fighting for the championship, but I said that last season we could just surprise ourselves. But anyway, that is it. I've really enjoyed making this video. The graphics I hope work. Hopefully everything has worked alright. Hopefully everyone's enjoyed it. But if you're not already subscribed and you would like to see how this current season goes, so hit that subscribe button down below. Maybe hit that bell as well so you get notified when I post the next episode, which will be the first episode of, well, not the first episode because this is the first episode, but the official start when we actually do the first race. That will be coming up in a couple of days time. Hit the description, I'll put the date of the actual first race video because I'm going to leave this one up for a little few days because I'm actually going to be on holiday. But anyway, that is it. Leave a like, leave a comment, all the usual stuff, but until then I'll see you down the road in Sydney for the Australian Grand Prix, and goodbye.